Okay. So here we are with Frank Arjava Petter. And you are also called Ananda, isn't it? Ananda Arjava.
Yes. These are the names I didn't receive from my parents. My given name is Frank, but the Anand and the Arjava names given to me by my spiritual teacher Osho when I was a teenager, when I was 18.
So how would you introduce yourself in your own words? Because normally there's someone that is introducing you, and I would like you to introduce yourself.
Okay, so I think the best way that someone could introduce me is to say that I'm a very simple-minded person. And I'm exactly like you who is listening. Yeah, same deal, nothing different. That's the best way, and it's really the only true way, yeah? Because everything else that you might say upon deeper investigation really means nothing. Yeah, so to me, the only thing that matters in life is the love that you have in your heart, the tenderness you have in your heart for life, for others, and for everything, for the rocks, for the flowers, for the environment, for the cars, for the computer that we're using, for everything that you see, you touch, yeah, that's for me, that's the only thing that really matters. The Beatles already said it all.
That's very
That's
nice.
it. Everything else, if you really investigate, if you look, it's just on the surface and it doesn't stay. You don't take that with you. Yeah?
So it would be like the song "All You Need Is Love," isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's very
Yeah.
nice to start. Well, I would like to say that you are a great author in the Reiki world. So you started writing this book, Reiki Fire, and I think it fired the Reiki world.
It did, yeah. That somehow I've been lucky with the titles of my books somehow. Yeah? So either somebody else or me or somebody close to me or somebody uh, special, I will tell you about that in a moment, came up with really very suitable titles for my books. Yeah? And I'm grateful that that happened. The Reiki Fire was my first, and it really fired up the international Reiki family big time. Yeah? It was quite amazing. But let me tell you that it was not planned at all. I did not plan to make a big impression on anybody on Reiki. I did not plan to change the Reiki history. I had no plans whatsoever. It was just pure coincidence. If there is such a thing, I don't know. Yeah, so I didn't want to do it. I didn't have the mind to write a book and to sell it in all these different countries and sell, I don't know how many copies of it. I had no plan like that whatsoever. It just kind of happened organically as if by itself, and that was nice. Yeah? And before I forget, the recent book that will come out soon in Spanish, so it's interesting for our listeners, which you have translated, is called One with Reiki. And the way we got the title, I have to tell you because it's sweet. Huh? I went with my German editor, Silke Klemann, whom you also know. I
Yeah.
went with her to Kyoto because we did some research there. We met with Usui Sensei's family, and we had a few days off in Kyoto. So I took her to all my favorite Buddhist temples, one of which is the Kodaiji temple that houses the famous future Buddha.
Yeah.
it's an incredible statue, very famous. Some philosophers talked about it. It's a Buddha that's sitting on a chair, yeah, with like this, and one leg. Oh, you can't see it. One leg like
Yes, I can imagine because I know the
in the Bodhisattva position, yeah, one leg crossed and one leg up, yeah, ready to move into
yes.
action and help people. And while we were meditating in there, he whispered that title into my editor's ear.
Wow.
So that was very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been blessed with the titles. Yeah? But really, I had no plan to write a book to become famous or something like that. Not at all, nothing, 0%. Yeah. It just kind of happened. And for many years after each book, I got kind of discouraged because there was lots of negativity and people didn't like what I wrote and they wrote very naughty things about me, all people who didn't know me. And after each book, I called my publisher and I said to her, well, Monica is her name. I said, Monica, that's it. That's the last one. I don't do another one. That's it. Already after the first book, I said that to her. And then since then has become kind of a joke. We always like, okay, this is the last one. Okay. The last one.
Well, but I think that the power of your soul is writing through you. So it's written in your soul and it's an impulse of your own soul. And I can feel it when I read your books that it comes from your inner, deepest part of yourself. So it's like the plan of your soul for you.
I think all art really and all artists are the same and they all write from the same, hopefully, from the same place. If you sit down and you want to write and you think about what you're going to write, it's going to be so boring. It's
Yes.
going to be so intellectual, so linear, so it doesn't have strength. It won't touch the soul of the reader. Same with music. If you sit down and you think you're going to compose a song, no, it doesn't work like that. You
Yes.
somehow you get in touch with something bigger than you, and this we both of us as Reiki people know that very well. Yeah, you tap into this collective magnificent power and it just comes pouring down through you, and then you sit there and in your case you compose, in my case I write. I also write poetry, and this is such a lovely state to be in, yeah, when that creativity just comes through you and you have learned not to be in the way, not to stop it, not to resist it, but to let that flow carry you. It's so
Yes.
beautiful. I love that. And
It's,
partly for that, I do it.
so it can be called inspiration, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's a step near enlightenment, I think, because
I,
it
I
goes.
don't know. It's a big word. Enlightenment is a big word.
Yes, it is. But I mean, it takes you to this ocean of eternal things that we all receive, and we are one through this ocean.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's it. So once I think you have realized the love in your heart and have realized what that is, it breaks the boundaries to other people, to the world, and then very quickly you realize that everything is one. There's no separation. The separation that we think of as I, me, mine, and you, yours,
Mhm.
it's all a mind game. And once you identify, once you understand that deeply, it just goes poof, yeah? And then It's just two little grains of sand talking to each other on the computer.
Yes, because we think we are our body, and sometimes we think we are our mind, and then we have to discover other things.
Yes, this is I think the main mistake is we think of ourselves as a separate identity, as a person, as either body, mind, heart, whatever.
Could we call it, could we call that duality?
Absolutely, that's it. Yeah, we think in terms of duality, and that creates suffering.
Yes, I
Always.
agree totally. So afterwards, there came other books, like, for example, the Reiki, The Legacy of Dr. Usui, and then the manual, the original manual, and then another one that I think it's very precious book for us now. It's impossible to find it in Spanish, so maybe we have to translate it again. And the Reiki, this is Reiki, esto es Reiki, that it's another treasure for us because, well, through that book, I discovered about Jikiden Reiki and all the Reiki from Japan. And, well, you have been doing an amazing work. So sometimes you say that you have an obsession for Reiki history. How was that? Why you are so interested in history, in Reiki history, or researching about documents and...
Okay. I'm not really interested that much in history, I must say. Yeah?
Well,
theoretically speaking, in, let's say, world history, or it's not really my field. So I didn't decide that, okay, let's check the history of Reiki because history is an interesting thing. There was no reasoning like that. What happened is this. I learned Reiki firstly from my brother in Berlin in 1992, 92. And I was already living in Japan for a few years then. So I went to visit, I came from Japan, went to visit my brother, learned Reiki, and then took the Reiki back to Japan. And what I learned from my brother, I enjoyed, but it didn't fit my understanding of Japanese culture. So I had a doubt. Yeah, so my obsession is really with the doubt. It's not with the history. I had this doubt inside my heart that said something is wrong. Something is wrong. I love the thing. I love the practice, but something is wrong. This is not Japanese. Because all of Japanese culture has breathing exercises, meditation exercises, a focus on compassion in action, no focus on the self, because in Buddhism, and Japanese people are Buddhist, there is no concept of self. Doesn't exist. There is no separate ego. Yeah, that was Buddha's, maybe one of his greatest contributions to the world, was telling people that, hey, this what you call self or ego, it's something that you recreate every moment with your thoughts, with your language. But if you really look deeply inside of your heart, all you find is emptiness, all you find is space, and there's nothing there. There's nobody there, there's nobody home. It's the universe is out there and is in here. It's the same. Yeah? So all of these things I knew from Japanese culture because of my former wife, and I had, when I was young in India with Osho, I had a string of Japanese girlfriends. So I knew Japanese culture really, really well. And what I had learned didn't fit with that at all. So I had a doubt and I just couldn't let it go. I thought, I want to find out what the real roots are, because what I learned can't be it. And
Yeah.
then I started to look, yeah? And when I found it in the shape and form of Chiyoko Yamaguchi or Chiyoko Sensei, I was so happy. Yeah? All my doubts went poof, gone.
Well, that's why from your book, I learned about the existing of Jikiden Reiki, and I felt the same from the beginning. I started in 1998, but I felt that it was not complete. Something was missing, something was not in the real place. And after reading your book, wow, I saw this is what I was looking for.
Right, exactly. So we all of us, yeah? And that means every human being without exception, we have a deep knowing inside of our hearts about people, about situations, about what is good for us, about what is not. We have some kind of meter or measure inside that tells us, that warns us, that gives us signals and says something is wrong, don't go this way, don't turn left, keep going, or stop, or there is something going on in the body, take care of it. We all have that. Yeah? And with Reiki, I have heard this so many times from so many friends. We all felt the same, like you and me, thinking something is missing, something is not in the right place, but we had no chance of figuring out what it was. I had that chance by accident or whatever, by who knows what we want to call it, that I ended up with a Japanese partner in Japan, living there, and people were just practically throwing information at us. I wasn't really looking. People were throwing it in front of my door, saying, here, do something with this. And I'm going like, no, I don't want to do another book. Boom. Yeah. So I did the first book, and I told you the reactions were really negative, yeah? Not nice. And I called my publisher. I said, I don't want to do anything else. These people are all crazy. I want nothing to do with them. I'm done. Yeah? I'm happy doing my business. We had a language school there in Sapporo in the north of Japan. And then somebody from the Usui Association, Ogawa Sensei, whom we had uh, um, been introduced to, he, just before he died, he sent me the Usui manual. He said, I want you to have this. And then I thought, okay, actually, my first thought was, haha, now I have something very special in my hand that nobody has. That was my first thought, yeah, honestly. And being a reflective person, I caught myself. I realized that, hey, wait, watch out. You're going on an ego trip. Huh? Be
Yes.
careful. So, what really is the responsible thing to do? And immediately I knew the responsible thing to do is to share it, because if Usui Sensei had a manual that was given to his students, then all Reiki students should have it. Really. Yeah, that belongs into a Reiki person's household. And if I can provide that, that would be a nice service. So I published a second book. When that book was out, The Legacy of Dr. Usui, somebody sent me an email and said, hey, nice that you published this material, but what about the practical part? I still see myself sitting at the computer reading this email from Canada with somebody who also had a copy of that manual. And I'm thinking, practical part, what practical part? So I asked my former wife, I said, hey, was there a practical part also in the manual? And she says, yeah, of course, don't you remember it? I didn't. I'd completely forgotten about it. And because of that, I had to do the third book. It was a mistake. It was my mistake. I had forgotten the practical part, the Ryoho Shishin, the treatment guide. I had completely forgotten it. I don't know how I could forget such a thing, but I did. And this book is the book that does the best. It was a mistake. You never know. Yeah. And if we had published it as text, nobody would have read it. And this way we put it out with the beautiful pictures and picturing all the treatment guide, the suggested treatments when somebody has a heart problem, what to treat, when somebody has a stomach problem, what to treat. And if I hadn't forgotten it, it would have never come out in this form and shape. And it's a great treasure, yeah? Wonderful. So there were a whole line of very strange coincidences. The Hayashi Reiki manual is a similar story. We just managed to publish Chiyoko Sensei's life story just about 3 months before she passed away.
Wow.
Yeah? And Tadao Sensei, her son, her youngest son, was telling me that so many times she was looking through the book and saying, "Oh, you remember when we met Arjava the first time and how nice it was." And so she could, after that book was published, she knew that she could leave, yeah? Because her legacy and the family legacy was preserved. It was very nice, very, very,
Nice. Yes.
very touching.
Yes.
So I tried to escape so many times from doing more Reiki stuff, but whatever it is doesn't let me go. It has me by the by the neck.
And what would you say? What Reiki is? What is Reiki for you, for your experience?
Reiki, in the words of Chiyoko Sensei, if you had asked her, she would say, Reiki is the most simple thing in the world. It's what everybody does unconsciously, what every mother does with her kids unconsciously, and all we do, and now this is the thing I would say, all that we do is we put the flashlight of attention on our natural inborn ability to heal, to help the body heal itself. This is it. Yeah, so when you hit your head somewhere, you go,
Yes, you go to put
like this, why you do it? Because you know that this works, that this makes you feel better. All the animals, the human included, have that inborn ability to heal themselves. And this is Reiki, very, very simple, very straightforward. Everybody's birthright, and all the cats have it, the dogs have it, the animal kingdom, the plants have it, the waterfalls have it, the rivers have it, but the human has the special gift to be able to consciously pass it on to others.
So this is the main thing that make you a click into it and to discover deeper what Reiki was, isn't it?
Yes.
Very. And have you got any situation with Reiki that you would like to talk? Any case when you applied Reiki successfully that gave you wow, something like miraculous, like a miracle or something very special?
Okay, of course, because I've been involved for many, many years, I've seen lots of things that you cannot really imagine, and you probably would not, and perhaps you should not believe if somebody tells you stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I've seen it with my own eyes so many times. I remember one situation was when we were in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and I had a group there teaching people from all Reiki lineages different techniques that Usui sensei came up with. And in those groups that are large in Latin America, we were about 80 people, I think.
Wow.
Because there's no initiation given. These are all people who already have Reiki, who have learned elsewhere and want to learn new techniques and new tricks and to have new vistas. So I said to them, look, guys, there are so many of us here. I wonder if any of you have a client that needs distant Reiki urgently. If you do, please raise your hand and tell me what it is. And one lady stood up and she said, I have a friend, their baby was just a few months old, had just fallen on the head very badly, and the two brain halves separated.
My God.
Mm. And my translator in Argentina is a medical doctor. And he just whispered to me, he said, oh, the chances are not good for this. Yeah? They will never grow back together. So I said, okay, that's really a nice thing to do for us. So everybody in their own way, the way you learned how to do distant Reiki, let's do it now. For, I don't remember, 20 minutes or something. So we all sat down, everybody doing the distant Reiki. We got the name and the date of the birth of the baby. And when we were done, about 3 minutes after we were done, the lady got a phone call. The baby came out of the coma and was healed.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and we were like, out of those 80 people, I think everybody started to cry. Yeah?
Wow. Yes.
Unbelievable. Yeah? But for me, the situation that is has been the most important for me personally was that I met my wife in 2002, so 19 years ago. And when we wanted to start a family, she told me, or actually she told me before, that she was medically infertile, that she couldn't have kids. And I always, when I was looking at her, I saw the two of us with a small child walking on the beach, swinging from the arms. So I said, okay, let's see about that. I did Reiki for her every day for a year and a half, and she got pregnant.
Yes, it works very well for fertility. Yes.
Incredible, incredible. And since then, I've seen it many times, but it really was in our own family. It was a big, big issue. Yeah? So my wife, when I met her, she was 27, and she grew up with the fact that she couldn't have kids. Yeah, so it was a total miracle. Yeah? And then we got another one, and we didn't do any artificial, nothing. Yeah? No hormones or nothing, just Reiki.
Yes. Okay. The door was open.
It was open.
Okay. So, um, and um, do you think that we need to do something special, for example, more meditation, or to become vegetarian, vegan, to increase our practice with Reiki, or Reiki it's enough?
Okay, basically Reiki, if you just want to
Because
do
many,
Reiki,
many students ask about it.
yeah. So basically, if you just want to do Reiki, Reiki is enough. You don't need to become a vegetarian or change your religious beliefs or anything, yeah, adhere to any philosophy whatsoever. But if you are serious about your own personal inner growth, then there's a whole universe of things to do and not to do. Yeah. So if you really want to, if you are concerned with the question, who am I? Then you're in trouble. Yeah? Then just doing Reiki is not enough for me. Yeah? It's not enough. You need more. You need in every moment to be reflective and to learn to generate spiritual awareness